This is CBC Vancouver News.
A blustery weekend, and it's not over yet. Gusty south coast winds knock out power and cancel ferry sailings, while another round of snow makes a beeline for the sea to sky. Plus,
and they decided rather than have a party that what they'd like to do is raise $1 million to help feed hungry kids.
A $1 million fundraiser in the form of a high school art fair. Also,
it's just really beautiful, like how we just connect as a family through the game.
The faraway team that could. We introduce you to the basketball underdogs representing Haida Gwaii for the first time ever at the provincial championship. Hi, I'm Tanya Fletcher. Thanks for joining us. Fierce winds forced BC ferries to cancel more than a dozen sailings today. Multiple routes were affected throughout the afternoon and into this evening as gusts of up to 100 kilometers per hour blew through the south coast. The blustery winds also triggered upwards of 10,000 power outages. That's according to BC Hydro, even downing massive trees like this one, which leveled a bench at Mundy Park in Coquitlam. Environment Canada still has wind warnings in effect, stretching from Vancouver Island to the Sunshine Coast to the Lower Mainland. Forecasters say 2 back-to-back storms this weekend are bringing strong winds and more rain that could lead to localized flooding, especially once high tide hits tomorrow morning. Special weather statements also warn of heavy, wet snow possible for the sea-to-sky region throughout the remainder of the weekend. A pedestrian has died in a crash on the North Shore. RCMP say the person was struck and killed by a vehicle early this morning.
Despite life-saving efforts, the pedestrian was pronounced deceased at scene.
It happened around 6 a.m. on West 1st Street and Forbes Avenue in North Vancouver. A taxi with a dent in its front left corner could be seen behind the police tape. Officers are investigating what led up to the crash alongside the collision reconstruction team. The stage is set for Metro Vancouver's only gas refinery to restart tomorrow. And the company warns that process could again cause flaring, odor release, noise, and smoke. In January, Burnaby's Parkland refinery shut down after a plugged line released a foul odor during a restart. The incident blanketed parts of the south coast with a strong smell and generated more than 100 complaints. It forced a 7-week shutdown of the plant and triggered community backlash about a lack of transparency. Parkland now says after a thorough inspection and third-party air monitoring, it's ready to start the restart process again. Well, don't forget the clocks spring forward overnight for most British Columbians. Daylight time kicks in at 2 a.m. and it could make the roads a little more dangerous. Road Safety at Work warns drivers that sleep patterns are often disrupted. The group says lack of sleep makes it more difficult to assess distance, speed, and time when behind the wheel. Despite its 2019 legislation to abolish the biannual time change, the province says it's still waiting for Washington State, Oregon, and California to do the same before enacting it. A warning from Surrey RCMP to watch out for cryptocurrency scams. Last year, some 230 cases of fraud involving cryptocurrency were reported in that city, resulting in a net loss of $12 million. The Better Business Bureau analyzes data to pinpoint the most prevalent scams. It too found cryptocurrency investment scams to be the most popular and the most devastating.
Median loss that Canadians were encountering when it comes to investment scams was over $9,000. So that's a big hit for any family. And what that really means is that it's a really high dollar loss and probably a high touch scam.
The second most prevalent scam this year is employment scams, where during a fake onboarding process, fraudsters collect everything they need to commit identity theft. To avoid scams, the Better Business Bureau says do a gut check. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. The BC SPCA is seeing a 20% rise in the number of animals brought in due to cruelty and neglect investigations. They say they were able to respond to more tips, though, because of an increase in the number of animal protection officers.
As a result of those breeders that really ramped up their work during the pandemic to meet the demand for puppies, we're starting to see, the sales of puppies decline over the last couple of years, and that resulted in a number of cases where we saw dogs and puppies in really poor condition.
The BCSPCA recommended charges against 44 people under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. The organization says it is also affected by inflation. Its community pet food programs gave out nearly 100,000 more meals in 2023 compared to the year before. The Life-Saving Society of BC held its 112th annual Honor and Rescue Awards today. They recognized bystanders who'd stepped in when someone was drowning in this case. Premier David Eby recognized the bravery of all of those being awarded.
When the people who are going to be recognized here today stepped in, I don't care if it's a swimming pool or an ocean or a lake or wherever it was, you put yourself on the line to help somebody else. And that is the best of us as British Columbians in the worst of circumstances.
Some of the award winners included 3 friends and their dads from Kimberley. They all saved a 3-year-old girl from drowning in Wassa Lake in East Kootenay. The boys were given the Silver Medal of Merit, and their fathers were honored with the Governor's Gold Award. Well, BC's high school basketball championships wrapped up in Langley today. The tournament drew dozens of teams from right across the province, all of them vying for the provincial title. And for the first time ever, a boys team from Haida Gwaii made it all the way to the finals. Our Janella Hamilton is finding out how this sport is so much more than a competition to these players.
For 17-year-old Levi Burton, playing basketball on a provincial stage is a dream come true.
I don't even know how to describe the feeling. Like, it's just something I've never felt before. Like, just knowing that this is the furthest any team has ever made it. Like, just knowing we've already made history.
The coach of the Gitgalang Kuyasne Breakers says this is the first time ever a boys sports team from as far away as Haida Gwaii has made it to the championship finals.
Representing Haida Gwaii is quite crucial to me.
Burton, who is from Skidegate, says the island communities often host tournaments as a way to connect and socialize.
It brings everyone from the small island of Haida Gwaii together, and it's just really beautiful, like how we just connect as a family through the game.
It's a long-time tradition for the close-knit community that dates back to the dark period of the residential school system.
There's a long history of basketball on Haida Gwaii just through Skidegate Saints and through culture at the same time, right? It was brought back from residential school through residential school survivors, because when they abolished potlatches, they created this tournament called the All Native, and the All Native was a gathering point for families and friends.
He says basketball became one of the only ways for Indigenous people to gather during that time. 17-year-old Timo Laughlin's love for basketball came from his mother and father, who also competed in the sport, a passion passed down through generations.
I think we're just showing that small schools can make it this far, and representing all the little Indigenous schools around the province.
A long history with people like Steve Nash playing in it, Kelly Olynyk, who's in the NBA right now. So it's something that they can aspire to as they go forward in their basketball careers.
A lifetime experience under the bright lights, surrounded by cheering crowds. In the end, it was a heartbreaking 3-point loss to Chilliwack's Unity Christian team. The Breakers visibly emotional, but in good spirits.
I'm just so proud of my guys. Like, they're the reason we're here. I love each and every one of them. We played so hard. No one expected us to be this far except for ourselves, and I know everyone's proud of us.
For now, the team is walking away with a silver medal, lifelong memories, and the drive to come back even stronger next year. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Langley.
Young people flocked to Richmond today in the hopes of becoming a future Olympian. The Canadian Olympic Committee hosted its official talent search looking for the next up-and-coming medalists. The training camp has been a successful launching pad for Olympic athletes in the past. Competitors this time were tested for speed, power, strength, and endurance. If they scored high enough, they could be tapped to try out for one of the 11 Olympic sports. Check it out.
We're here at the Richmond Olympic Oval for the RBC Training Ground. And the RBC Training Ground is a platform where we can identify youth athletes to help kickstart their Olympic dream. We're here and testing athletes through their endurance, their power, agility, and their strength. And through those tests, we identify which sports those athletes are best suited for. and then we can partner them with the National Sports Organization, and through that pathway they have an opportunity to then compete at the national level and hopefully at the international level, with the major goal of being an Olympic athlete here for Canada.
I just wanted to see what this was about, and I thought it would be a really cool experience just to try out, even if I didn't match up. But yeah, overall I think it was a really, really good experience.
It's a really great opportunity to try and test your ability to see how far you can go and become an Olympic athlete someday.
Got all these athletes from the ages of 14 to 24 that are going through a whole bunch of different tests to kind of test their speed, power, endurance, and there's a lot of different national sporting organizations here of we're going to look at the data and try and pull these athletes and say, hey, do you want to try out our sport? And if they do well at that, they could be the next Olympian that maybe is representing us in 2026, 2028, and onward. I think it's a great opportunity for these 14 to 24-year-olds to just kind of come out, see where you're at, talk with some of the different sports, and maybe you just haven't found the right sport for you yet, and you never know, that could be the one that takes you to the Olympics.
A Vancouver high school is hosting an art sale this weekend, but it's not just any art sale. It's part of an effort by a local business to raise $1 million to feed hungry kids in BC. Our Saurabh Sandhu dropped in and caught up with the team behind the fundraiser.
These are Bernard Gantner stone lithographs on Japan paper. The paper is worth $125 a sheet. It's handmade in Japan.
Paintings, posters, and wall art of every kind. Even flip-flops, t-shirts, art cards, and books are all lined up inside John Oliver Secondary's gym.
3 small prints for $10. It's affordable. It's going to a really good cause.
We provide a breakfast program 2 days a week. We have snacks available pretty much throughout the day, and we have a lot of students on our lunch program. And this is part of the monies that we're raising are going to go to helping us sustain those programs.
The architect of this art fair is David McCann with Granville Island's Creek House Industries.
The guys I work for started the redevelopment of Granville Island 50 years ago, and they decided rather than have a party that what they'd like to do is raise $1 million to help feed hungry kids, both here in Vancouver and across BC.
McCann says funds raised will support VSP's mead programs, the Vancouver's Son Adopt a School project, and a Loving Spoonful Meal Society, among others.
The gentleman that runs the Vancouver Open Spaces International Biennale, all the sculptures we see around English Bay and elsewhere, he just basically gave me several $1 million worth of art. He said, David, I'm getting ready to retire. I'm not sure what to do with it. Go out and make a difference in the world.
According to Statistics Canada, 1 in 4 Canadian children experience food insecurity. And Food Banks Canada says 33% of the food bank users in Canada are children. This week, federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh called on the federal government to start a national school lunch program.
We're the only G7 country that doesn't have a federal, nationwide meals program for kids. Research has clearly shown that in some schools up to 40 or 50% of the kids go to school hungry.
McCann says to date his company has been able to raise about $250,000, with more events to come. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
Still ahead, escalating turmoil in Haiti with a relentless gang warfare, a missing prime minister, and a humanitarian crisis. We'll have the latest from there next. Welcome back to our nation's capital now, and mourners gathered in Ottawa today to remember and honor the 6 people killed in a senseless act of violence earlier this week. As the CBC's Nicole Williams reports, 4 of the children killed were children, and they ranged in age from just 7 to 2 months old.
A memorial overflowing with stuffed animals, flowers, notes, and candles defiantly burning in the wind and rain.
I just want to say thank you for being here.
More than 100 people gathered at this park in Ottawa's South End to say goodbye to those gone far too soon. A 35-year-old mother from Sri Lanka and her 4 young children, all between 7 years and just 2 months old.
It is sad. It's very, very unfortunate. This Canada is a great country, and as a Canadian, we have to come together and we have to help each other.
The family was among the 6 people killed in a mass stabbing at this townhouse Wednesday night. The other victim, 40-year-old Gamini Amarakon, also from Sri Lanka.
An event like this sort of shatters what you think of your community, and it's not going to be easy to sort of recover from that.
It's left a deep scar for people here and for all of Ottawa, with police describing it as one of the city's worst mass killings in recent history.
I want the community to know that that they're supported. I want the families to know that all the people of Ottawa are with them and are grieving with them and are feeling great sympathy for them.
And even further in Sri Lanka, people are coming to grips with the tragedy thousands of miles away.
It's not only a tragedy, it's something, huge disaster back home because everybody is in shock.
Husband and father Danishka Wickramasinghe is the only survivor of the attack. He was badly injured and is still in hospital, but is improving.
He sees the strength, he sees that people are behind him, and so I think, a gathering like this only, make him stronger.
The investigation still ongoing. Police say with this many victims, it's going to take time.
Our forensic team is still working very hard, and they'll be there again for a couple more days. I spoke to them yesterday. They're doing an incredible job.
After a few hours, the crowd thinned out, but this memorial remains as a reminder of who was lost and the hope of keeping their memory alive. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
Overseas, Gaza truce talks remain in apparent deadlock. Hamas is reportedly not planning to send a new delegation to Cairo this weekend, though Israel says efforts continue. And in Gaza, an Israeli airstrike hit Rafah, where a ground offensive has been anticipated for weeks. One of the city's largest residential buildings was hit. Locals say Israel did issue a warning, but only 30 minutes in advance. Elsewhere in Gaza, malnutrition and dehydration claimed 3 more Palestinian lives, bringing the total over the last 10 days to 23. Well, Haiti remains in a state of emergency this weekend. Street battles are playing out among gangs in the capital, and the Prime Minister remains out of the country. The CBC's Paul Hunter takes a look at what led to this current crisis.
On the streets of Haiti's capital, the violence is at once brutal and relentless. Evidence everywhere that the thousands of street gang members battling for power have put Haiti on a quickly worsening spiral. Food, fuel, water, and security dwindle. The gangs forced me to leave my home, says this woman. Now we live on the streets. There's no water, no bathroom. We're in misery. The situation is critical, says this man. We don't have a prime minister. We don't know whether he's dead or alive because he's lost in the wild. Frustration in Haiti, simmering since that massive earthquake in 2010, grew further after a presidential assassination 3 summers ago that led to this man, Ariel Henry, being appointed prime minister. But his failure to call elections led to anger and the growth of powerful street gangs now attacking the capital. Thousands of Haitians have been killed, injured, or kidnapped. Last month, Henry fled Haiti seeking international help. He's now believed to be in Puerto Rico unable to return. The first objective of the fight, said this gang leader known as Barbecue, is to ensure that Henri's government does not remain in power by any means. In efforts to turn things around, Canada will join the U.S., France, and Caribbean leaders at an emergency meeting on Haiti Monday in Kingston, Jamaica.
There's a lot of steps that we need to take together to get to a path towards stability and a path towards an election. But right now, the violence is very, very serious. The gangs have taken over much of Port-au-Prince and other parts of the country. So we have to move forward together. That's what we're going to try and do.
As the violence and despair grow. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Heavy rain has hit the Arabian Peninsula's United Arab Emirates, triggering localized floods. In just 6 hours, 50 millimeters of rain fell in Dubai. That's almost half the average for an entire year. Parts of a major highway were closed, and there were disruptions at what is the world's busiest airport for international flights. The storm had been expected, and people had been warned to stay inside today. In a decade of wildfires, suspected spy balloons, and a global pandemic, alien landings might not seem all that far-fetched. This week, though, a U.S. report said nothing suggests anyone out there has shown up down here.
AARO has found no evidence that any U.S. government investigation, academic-sponsored research, or official review panel has confirmed that any sighting of a UAP represented extraterrestrial technology.
UAP stands for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. The Pentagon had been asked to review all government intelligence since 1945. Yesterday, it said there was no evidence of extraterrestrial visits, crashes, or technologies. And it said sightings or testimony to the contrary were misidentifications or misunderstandings. Here's a live shot of Canby Street, BC Place. More rain and strong winds will carry us through the rest of the weekend. I'll have your 5-day forecast next.
Hey, I'm Rohith Joseph. Vibin' is the new show all about discovering great new songs and fresh artists from across BC and beyond. Stream Vibin' on CBC Listen.
And time for the 5-day forecast. We have kind of the same headline news weather-wise right across the province. Generally, we have precipitation from north to south, wind gusts as well, and we are seeing that gradual warm-up kind of right across BC. So overnight, we'll likely see if you're having showers in your area. That'll continue through the night. Maybe it's snow. Perhaps it's a mix of both. And those gusty winds will continue as well, kind of no matter where you are, but especially strong in the south coast. Here's the system, and it's just really taking a pounding on the coast and through the interior as well with that precipitation. You can see it's not really moving much for the next 48 hours. So surely into Sunday, we'll see more rain as well and snow on those higher elevations. And into Tuesday as well, we'll probably see some clear breaks. And then Wednesday, we kind of start to kick out this latest low pressure system. But here we are right across the province. We have a snowfall warning in effect in the Kootenays. This is for Highway 3 near the Kootenay Pass. Could see heavy snow late tomorrow, 15 centimeters. And then also a snowfall warning for Whistler Howe Sound. We could be seeing heavy wet snow. They're warning of possibly dicey driving conditions at the Sea to Sky. Wind warning in effect as well. That's the big story for the south coast, including Vancouver Island, parts of it, including Victoria, Metro Vancouver as well. So the potential for minor coastal flooding because of that, especially Sunday morning when that high tide hits. For Vancouver, we'll see 10 to 15 millimeters of rain overnight, another 5 to 10 for Sunday. And then again, those winds will be gusty as well. So another blustery few days in store. And that is your late news for this Saturday, March 9th. For news anytime, anywhere, you can download the free CBC News app. You can always find us online as well. We're at cbc.ca/BC. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night.